So cancer is something which generally comes with a lot of sorrow or a lot of grief around, But thankfully, again, when the larger community also knew, everybody came around, rallied, that it's so good to see you doing what you love doing and being a part of the community. And I and there were people who came to me who said, we never knew that you were going through chemo and going through radiation and still doing your walks and meeting around and even in a smaller section of people, but you were always cheerful around. And I used to say that that's the only choice I had. I never gave myself any other choice.
I am Baiki Winky, and this is the Working Athlete Podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, time management, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes. Today's guest, Rohit Pathak, is a cyclist, a runner, and a cancer survivor. In April of 2022, Rohit got diagnosed with Hodkin's lymphoma, which is a rare form of cancer that affects the lymph nodes and the immune system. He had to undergo surgery, chemo, and radiation therapies to beat it. He not only went through the entire treatment with positivity but also was determined to get back to his previous fitness levels as soon as possible. He did it in style by finishing Tata Mumbai Marathon in 4 hours 3 minutes. In this episode, we talk about not only his fight with cancer and successfully finishing a marathon within an year, but also talk about his inspiring weight loss journey of going from 115 kgs to 75 kgs. I hope you will enjoy this episode as much as I did. With that, let us get into my chat with Rohit Patak. Welcome to the Working Athlete Podcast, Rohit. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure on my side as well. Likewise, like I've been following the podcast for a while now. Didn't expect that I will be on the podcast as well. So
No, yeah, when I heard about your journey, I felt that this is something that can be inspiring to many because of what you have gone through since last year, and also want to touch upon what was your endurance journey has been like so far.
mhm.
So for the listeners who are listening to this, what I'm referring to, this is uh, Rohit has was diagnosed with cancer early last year, and he went through a couple of surgeries and chemotherapies and radiation, and he came out of it, and he started restarted his running, and just a couple of weeks ago he completed Tata Mumbai Marathon in 4 hours 3 seconds.
Three
So
minutes.
the yeah, 4 hours 3 minutes. So it's a fantastic achievement, I would think, and that's what I want to get into and also talk about your endurance journey in general. Congrats, Rohit, for successfully, beating cancer and also getting back into running and successfully completing the marathon, a couple of weeks ago. So,
Thank you so much.
let us start by talking about, you know, uh, how did you get into running and cycling to begin with,
Okay,
and when was this?
okay. 2016 is basically when I first got into cycling. Uh, Prior to 2016 April, I think I had the same corporate lifestyle, working and extensive hours of working. I was working with a startup called Zomato at that point of time, and working hours were there, and it's a usual lifestyle, right? That you not only fitness regime which I had was couple of sessions in the gym, in a month, and that too not very regular. And I was very obese. I was about 115 kgs, a really plump guy.
Wow.
Uh, so that's when I had a conversation with a friend who said, instead of going to a gym, why don't you pick up a cycle? I spoke to my wife. I invested in a hybrid cycle, in fact, a mountain bike. And I started cycling near my house. So where I live is a little rolling terrain. I cycle for about 30 days on a stretch, every day 30 kilometers, and that's when I joined a group. I got introduced to Delhi Cyclist. It's one of the biggest groups in Delhi NCR. Thankfully, came under the right guidance, had the right set of people around me, and those 30 kilometers turned into 50, and then slowly endurance rides started happening, and I started doing a couple of rides a week, ranging between 50 to 100. It's unbelievable how I could move so fast. Now, the mountain bike turned into a hybrid, and then slowly it turned into a road bike. And by 2017, I started doing a couple of brevets, and 2017 December is when I did the first longest endurance ride. It was Delhi to Bombay in 5 days. Uh,
Wow.
that's called G2G. That's India Gate to Gateway of India. Uh,
Hmm.
I was still fat. Not that healthy that I look right now. I was still obese. I had a basic road bike, and I had just signed up without any big preparation, right, like others do. And I really, really struggled a lot on that ride. Like there were days when I cried, and I used to cycle till wee hours in the night, like really, really late, 12, 1. And there were days when I used to question myself, why have I signed up for this pain, but I completed it. The completion itself was a big achievement. I came back, but I gave myself a promise that I'm gonna get better at it. So that's when I joined Cult Fit as gym as a alternate strength workout. 2018 is when I also got into running, and initially it was 2 kilometers. I got introduced to running by my wife. She used to go for her walkathons. She was participating in walkathons, and she took me along that you go for cycling. Why don't you drive me down to these walkathons and you also walk with me? And those walks turned into runs, and those 2 kilometers turned into 5, and then turned into 10, and then slowly 2018 is October is when I ran my first half marathon. you know uh, Still no voice into running, not focused into proper training, just trained easy and ran an easy run. uh, 2018 December is again I reattempted Delhi to Bombay again, next, back to back. This time I was about 15 kgs less on my weight, a better bike also, and good amount of strength workout done, and really strong. That was I. That's how I felt, and I completed it well, like really really nicely every day. I used to finish it like uh, second or third person every day. Finished it on time, relaxed every day, and there was no fatigue. I really enjoyed that ride. Uh, 2019 January is first time I attempted Bombay half marathon. I ran TMM. Still a normal runner, not under professional training. 2019 about and this is when I also got introduced to a running group called Adidas Runners. I started running with them, but just taking it easy on runs. And 2019 is when I thought that I need to get better at running as well, and that's where uh, the professional approach, or probably a targeted approach, started happening. I got in touch with a coach, and we started training. And by September, I moved to Bangalore for a short stint. With my opportunity with CureFit. So I was working out with them, and I got an opportunity to work with them as well. So I moved to Bangalore for a couple of months. I used to shuttle between Delhi and Bangalore. And that's where the running journey started, actual running journey started. And I started getting better at it. Uh, 2020, again, Tata Mumbai Marathon, the half marathon distance. That's I ran. And once I came back, I attempted the New Delhi Marathon. And immediately after that, COVID came in, right? And everything got shut. We were confined in the houses, workouts and work took over. And again, it was a journey which had a complete stoppage to it, except some home workouts because we couldn't go out. So when the first wave got over, uh, we started. I started back, uh, but we couldn't do group workouts. Everything was stopped. There were either solo workout or workouts with a very confined space of friends. So a couple of friends, we got together and we thought that let's take a goal. Let's start training towards. And we started running and we started training. Uh, the first race which we did was the Airtel Delhi Half Marathon on a virtual model, and we fairly did well. And we got an opportunity that we heard that the New Delhi Marathon would happen in March 2021, and we had like 4 to 5 months to us to train. And marathon was something which is never on my goal. Like every time people ask me that, would you run a marathon? And I said I would, but the day I feel that I can run a half marathon under 155, that's when I would start training for it. And the virtual Airtel, I think I did it in about 151. So it gave me a confidence that let's start training for it. And we started training for it, a couple of friends again. And we made our own plans. I did not have a coach, so we made our own plans and focus training, like intervals and tempos and everything, and attempted the Delhi full marathon. I gave myself a target of 4 hour 15 minutes. I managed to finish in 4 hour 14 minutes. Excellent achievement. Pretty happy. Came back home, and that's when the second target came in. What next? And Jay, who's a very very close friend, we decided that probably we would enter our name for the Berlin Draw. So the first world major, and we got selected. We had to now prepare for Berlin, and the second wave came in. Again got confined inside the house, and second wave was pretty bad. Like there were a lot of things happening, and we couldn't move out. Second, when the second wave got over, that's when we again got back into training. So the now the point to be noted is that both the two waves of COVID brought us back to zero of running. Like we had to do the groundwork again, because running is something where generally you give a stop 3 4 months. You generally, it's a muscle memory, but your body forgets. And obviously you add on to weight also, means everything restarts again. You lose, the heartbeat goes up, and you need to focus on a lot of things. So we started training again. Couple of initial few weeks went into heart rate based training, and then again that methodological approach on how to approach for the marathon. And finally, it was like Berlin was right there, and I finally reached Germany. Visa fiasco, big time. I got my visa like couple of hours before my flight, so I was not even sure that I would run or not. But thankfully, I got my visa like 5 hours before my flight. So
Wow. Yeah.
reached Germany, managed. So it was me, Jay, and Arijit, three of us who ran, and it was still COVID was still a scare. Uh, I think Berlin Marathon was running at half the capacity. Generally, 55,000 runs people run, but this time it was just about, I think, 27, 28,000 people there. And me and Ari ran together. Jay was running separately. I managed to finish in, I think, 3 hours and 56 minutes. Uh,
Wow. Hmm.
that was like a great achievement. Like I really thought that
There's a big jump from your first marathon time, right?
yes, approximately about 16, 17 minutes of jump.
Right.
Now, once I came back, I think couple of months we took it easy, and then I had an stress fracture in the ankle. So I went into rehab. Running was stopped. I started walking.
Just just before we go further, I just wanted to pull back and talk about your weight journey,
Yes,
right? Because you said you were about 115 and the first time you went to G2G you struggled, uh, and then the second time you said you lost about 15 kilos by that time and you were better prepared, um, so and you were able to complete that relatively
relative
in comfort,
income.
relatively better,
Yes,
right? And then the running took more and more prominence, and you were running more and more. But how did weight loss journey proceed through the
Yeah. So
excuse me.
So the weight loss journey basically started. So the first step started in 2016 with the first step of cycling, and then the second step happened with my second G2G edition. Uh, and then when I went to Bangalore, a lot of activities stopped. I couldn't cycle. I could only run, and I was still at the same weight, like it was stagnant. I was 90, 92, still obese. Uh, and then COVID came in. I was still 88, 90. It generally didn't drop. And I think 2021 is when I started, post the second wave, when I started training for Berlin. That's when I started focusing on weight reduction as well. And thank you for picking this up, because that's a big achievement apart from my marathon journey. Uh, I started doing I wanted to give some kind of a shock to the body so that uh, it moves on losing weight, right? I started doing intermittent fasting after a lot of discussions with a couple of friends who were into nutrition and everything, and that helped. And I started doing a lot of healthy eating, like I started eating in portions, and that helped. So before I started training for Berlin, I think I was about 88 or 90. And the day I flew to Berlin, and that's a span of about 3 months, I was at 75. So I lost about 15 kgs in that. And I really got fit. Like I could really feel uh, that energy in me. I got faster. I got lean. And everything helped towards achieving that goal. It's just not that my training helped me. I think that weight loss journey also helped me a lot in getting better and getting faster and getting stronger. And it was more of healthy eating habits that picked up. Like I used to finish my meal at about 8 o'clock in the evening, uh, and just eat in portions. Binge eating had completely stopped. I went off, almost off sugar completely. Nothing packed, nothing aerated. Carb intake was limited. So a lot of focus went around there, and that's
Right. So when you said you were eating in portions, what do you mean by that? And you also mentioned intermittent fasting, right? So what was your eating window versus fasting window? And what maybe go a little bit specific into what kind of foods you were eating, what were the portions that you were eating, so that maybe for someone who is in a similar situation can find it practically useful.
So first thing I'm gonna say is anyone who probably what I've done is something which I took under guidance, and I took a feedback from a lot of people, and it was all trial, hidden trial method, right? That what worked for me is not necessary that something would work out, but people need to take it under guidance. Like what I did was I started, uh, and I still follow it. Just during my treatment, I did not follow it, but I still follow it every week. So I go on a water diet, on a water fasting from Sunday night post my dinner, and I stretch it as far as I can. So the best I've stretched it is till 43 hours. So I start from Sunday night, and Monday goes into fasting. Monday is generally my rest day. I don't do anything, no activities on that day. And I stretch it till Tuesday afternoon, till my lunch. Now that, so I didn't straight away went to that number of hours. I started with 20, 24, 30, 36, 40. And I wanted to basically see how much is my body craving for food. Slowly, over the period, that craving stopped. Like I could be on water, or the best case is probably one green tea, or probably one nariyal pani, coconut water. That is it. Now my body has got used to it. But what helped is basically it's a detox fasting for me. So I lose a lot of water, extra weight in within those 35-40 hours. And Tuesday generally is my hard workout day. I generally do intervals on that day, so that also helped. Now that is one. My intermittent
So
fast.
Tuesday, when you do hard workout, is it in the mornings or in the evenings
Mornings
during the fasting window? Or?
during the fasting window. I do
Ah,
it during
okay.
I do it during the fasting window. And this is also
Hmm.
I tried, I got adopted. Like my body is used to training under fasting. I always train on a fasting methodology. Like
Hmm.
all my every day after Monday is intermittent fasting of about 18 to 20 hours. Generally between 17, 18, 19 varies on various days, but 17 to 19 hours is fixed. Now, because I finish my meal at about 8, and I would intake my meal in form of a lunch or probably a heavy breakfast at lunch. That's how I do. So those 17, 18 hours, now my workouts are always in the morning. So they go on a fast methodology only. So I'm on a fasting mode when I do my workouts. Uh, God willing and God has been kind. I have never felt any amount of weakness ever in my workouts. Like Tuesdays is my intervals. Then Thursdays is my tempos. Generally, I do my long runs on Saturdays, again fasting. Uh, Long runs is only when I'm training for a marathon. I generally take gels. That's the only thing. I don't take coffee. I don't take bananas. Like I'm not used to bananas. My stomach goes upset. I don't take nuts, so I don't use any. But that's again me. I would say that it's again hit and trial. People need to see what works out for them, but that's it. Now, touching back on the point that when I broke down my meals, so my meals generally broke down into I I ensure that I only have carb one time a day. So my lunch is when I have wheat in it, and I have like a mixed wheat. So it's millet, bajra, jawar, and all that mixed chapati. That's what I have. Uh, Dinner, I don't have carb at all, especially in the weekdays. Zero carb. uh, in the dinner would be a lot of protein, so it'll be eggs, paneer, and then salad and all these things, but again balanced. I don't eat one portion, so I'll have two eggs, I'll have a little bit of paneer, I'll have up before that, an hour before that I'll have a little bit of salad, an hour before that I'll have papaya. So it breaks down. So even when I go to office now, so it's like a huge tiffin which has small boxes which will have everything. So post my lunch it starts with nuts, then I have a pomegranate, then I have papaya, then I'll have probably some other fruit, seasonal fruit, then I'll go to salad, then I'll move to paneer and egg, and that's a wrap. That's how I do. So that's how I adopted. In during training for Berlin, what I did was I had almost stopped carb at all. So I used to measure my carb. I used to have like a 30-35 gram of carb every day, and all I had was a lot of green veggies like broccoli and all these vegetables. Like just saute it, beans, broccoli, and I think radish, and just move it, saute it, and probably have it one meal, have that along with dal, and the other meal just have like a small sub with either paneer or either egg in it, and that was my like 35-40 gram of carb intake. That is it. And I had almost zeroed down on sugar. I had stopped drinking any aerated drinks, so that helped in that drastic reduction. Now so when I went back to my treatment, generally people lose weight. I gained a little weight, but I knew that I could
Hmm.
always get back in the shape. So that's what I did post my treatment, and I reduced the weight again. So when I ran Mumbai Marathon, I was around 76, 77. So now
Right.
that trick is that art of reduction is something by God's grace I have understood it. So I can play around when
Right.
I want to do.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, it is. Uh, it takes a little bit of trial and hit and miss,
Yes.
and it also is it is not something that is universal, right? You have to try it, and you have your body adapts to it, be it the what you eat, and when you eat, and what are the kind of fasting and the workouts during fasting and all that. It needs adapting to getting used to it over a period of time. It might not work straight away for someone. If someone is listening to it and want to go do intervals fasted and all that, it might not work
Absolutely.
like Rohit pointed out at the start. You got to understand that. And yeah, thanks Rohit for that detailed insight into that. So all this helped you lose weight, and you went and did real phenomenally well at Berlin Marathon, and you came back. And yeah, so what happened then? When did this when did you find out about your the diagnosis of cancer, and what proceeded from there?
Okay, so I think when I came back from Berlin, I told you right that I got diagnosed first with a stress fracture. This happened around December 25. Christmas, I did my last long run, 25 kilometers, finished in pain. Uh, I thought probably a niggle or something. Just took a rehab for rest for about a week. Went back to run, couldn't run, and then I think January I gave a lot of rest. It still didn't work out. So finally, I met a sports doctor, Dr. Chandan Chawla over here, and he told me that it's a stress fracture, clear case. So one thing which I did not do, and I openly admit it, is during my Berlin training, I trained and for the Delhi Marathon as well. So 2021 is when I 2021 is when I trained for and I ran two marathons. One in March, the other is in September. Delhi Marathon, Berlin Marathon. But my strength workout, focusing on mobility and on pure strength, which a runner would do, was almost like 5%, 10%, or negligible. And I admit,
Hmm.
and you can't hide it from a doctor. I said, he asked me the question, and I said, yes, I didn't focus on that. And he said, that's the result, that your ankle has taken that stress and it's a stress fracture. You'll have to go into rehab. And then he gave me certain workouts, gave me certain exercises, mobility, and told me to walk. Now imagine a person who's run close to about 2400 kilometers in the last 7-8 months, uh, is being told that now you will walk. And he asked me, I said, how much is your mileage? I said, between 2020 post COVID and 2021, I have done almost 4,500 kilometers. So he said, that's huge. And he was surprised that I didn't get injured earlier. So I said, fine, whatever you say. And I started back. March 13 is when I turned 40. So I celebrated that milestone birthday, and I was cycling, I was swimming, and I was walking and doing those walk runs, which he had put up on a plan. Uh, I think March 30th is when I went for my dad's checkup and a pre-surgery checkup at my friend's hospital. And now the history to be known is that uh, I had a lymph node right here in this portion of the chin, and
Hmm.
this has been there for years, like a decade or more. Now I had a beard, like, and this couldn't be seen because of the beard. And the only person who could ever feel it apart from me was my barber when I used to go for my shave. He used to tell me, "Sir, this is there. You should get it removed." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll get it done." And I spoke to a couple of doctor friends who are runners, and they said it's a lymph node. If it's not giving you any trouble, remove it whenever you can. So I said, "Fine, we'll see. We'll take a call." And when I went for my dad's pre-surgery checkup, so I spoke to his doctor and I said, "Doc, I have a lymph node here. Can you check?" And he said, "Son, it's quite big. I would suggest you go for a surgery." So I said, "Fine, let's get admitted." And I got admitted. And this is all accidental, okay? Nothing
Right.
planned, nothing there. And my dad's surgery happened a week after that. I got admitted in the same hospital, same doctor. And I went into the OT. They took me for a surgery. They did a cut and they took the lymph node out. And I think when I saw the photo, once I recovered in the evening, and when I saw the photo, I was astonished because that lymph node was at least this big. It was, it was as,
Size of a lemon.
yes, or a golf ball, lemon
Hmm.
or a golf ball. And they'd removed the gland as well from there, stating that it should not cause any other spread again. So I said, done, thank you. And while he came in the evening for a meetup, he told me that this might, I have sent it for a further checkup and I am a little worried. So that's where the tingling sensation started, that what is wrong. And so I said, fine, let's take it by case. And I got released probably the next day. I went home and then came back after a couple of, and he said that this portion has been gone for biopsy, that lymph node, because that's the protocol. Now, 17th of April, I think 4th of April, uh, I was under the knife for the surgery. 17th of April is when the biopsy report came in, uh, and that came as inconclusive. So the first thing I did when the biopsy report came in, I consulted a friend of mine. She's a doctor, pathologist. She was uh, working with the United Nations in US. So I was the first person. Like, I reached out to her immediately and I said, "Listen, this is the report. Have a look at it." So her husband is also a doctor. So both of them looked. They said it's inconclusive. We'll have to go for another test. So there was another panel test which happens on biopsy. That happened. After a couple of days, I sent the report again, and she gave me a call and she said that it's cancer. And
Hmm.
when basically the first report came in and it was inconclusive, she also told me that we need to get a test, and I met the surgeon as well. So he also told me that we'll have to do it. We'll have to go for another test, and there might be a possibility that this could be something. So that is where I had the feeling that there is something wrong, and I started making peace with myself that it shouldn't come as a big shocker. Generally,
Right.
it gives you, it's like a setback. You get,
Right.
it's like getting hit by a bus, that you can't believe that being such fit and you will have something like that. And cancer has never been in my family history for decades. Like, all,
Hmm.
it's not been on the both side, maternal, paternal. Nobody has ever been in cancer. Now, I think when the FTP panel test came, it confirmed. Apurva, my friend from US, gave a call. He said, Rohit, it's don't worry, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's 100% recoverable. So don't worry. Next plan of action was to start meeting doctors. And I think I was speaking to her on the phone, going to my office, when my wife had a sixth sense and she gave a call. She asked me, "Did you get the report?" And I told her, Apurva will give you a call, who's my friend. And I had told her, you give a call to my wife. I would not be able to talk to her because making her understand for me was a little difficult. I wanted a doctor to make her understand, you know,
Right.
because absolutely it was a shocker for the family as well. So yeah, means it initially it was a shock, like it was unbelievable for the fact that it was cancer, and this all happened accidentally. Means nobody was prepared.
Right. I think, on if it was not for you being in the hospital to attend to your father, um, and you not asking about that lymph node, all this discovery, or this diagnosis would not have happened. If it was found out later, or much later, it could have been much worse also, right?
Absolutely.
So in a way, although it was a shocker, in hindsight it might have been best thing that
No, no,
happened, that
absolutely.
discovery.
That
Right.
discovery, I think, was a blessing, and that's what everybody told me. That I think anyone apart from God, if I am thankful to, is my father, that I went because of him, and I just casually sitting inside a room, and I said, "Hey, doc, can you just look at me?" You know, and that's how it all started. So obviously, anything which had happened later could have been an issue, because what we got to know was, once it was confirmed, then the next step was to get the oncologists set up, meetings and everything. And thankfully, one good thing about our community of running and cycling is that you have an access to a lot of doctors. Like, you have doctors who are runners, doctors who are cyclists. And this hospital where I got operated was also owned by a cyclist friend. Now he immediately started helping me with setting up doctors. Another few friends, somebody had a connect in US, somebody had a connect in UK. We started consulting a couple of doctors. That time frame was like chaotic. Like, we wanted the best possible guidance, and we were, because you're not sure which doctor to consult, who's the best doctor. Now, so thankfully I reached, so I was connected to a hospital over here. It's called Batra Cancer Research, and I got an appointment with a doctor there. Good thing is that the first time when I met uh, the doctor was is an ex-army. He's a lieutenant colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Manish Chaudhary. I met him. Like, I was amazed. Somebody who was approximately my age, probably a little elder to me, and I met him. I showed him my reports, and he looked at it and he said, "It's Hodgkin's lymphoma. You don't have to worry." And he spoke about in detail, like in depth, about what the cancer is, and what kind of treatment is there. And he said it's curable. Like Hodgkin's, he said, thankfully it's not non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So there are two lymphoma cancers. One is non-Hodgkin's and one is Hodgkin's. Non-Hodgkin's is more lethal. Hodgkin's basically takes a lot of time to spread. It is a cancer which is against the immune system of your body, so it brings the immunity level down, but generally takes 4 to 5 years to spread in the body, and starts creating lymph nodes everywhere. So if I had a lymph node here, I would have a lymph node under my armpit, I would have a lymph node somewhere near my groin area, and all these areas, right? So he checked me and he said, "Do you have any other lymph node?" I said, "No, you can check me." And we did a checkup, and he said, before I reached to a conclusion, I think you should go in for a PET scan. That'll confirm the spread and everything. So we did a PET scan, we did a couple of tests, and then I came back to him. My first question to him was, uh, what would have caused this? So he said, it is not related to anything which you would have ever consumed. Like, people generally have a misconception that if you were smoking or if you were drinking, excessive of anything might have resulted. He said no. Lymph nodes get created. This cancer is pretty common on a very young age, especially age group of 20 to 30, or an age group of 50 plus. But he said, you've got it. And he said, how many years have you had it? I said, like, I know that I know is a decade. So probably when I was in my 30s, this would have been created. And he said, so he asked me about the symptoms. So the general symptoms are bleeding. I said no. Pain, none. And he said the biggest symptom is fatigue. And I just laughed. He said, you wouldn't be able to do anything. And I said, sorry, doc, I just ran two marathons just a couple of months back. And I have ran for about 2,500 kilometers. I've cycled for about 4,000 kilometers in that year, and swam for about 100 odd kilometers in that year. So it's been a excessive workout year. And I do other workouts as well. So he said that, then I should tell you that this has been a blessing for you, that this kind of excessive workout that you were doing helped you contain that cancer spread in your body. And it didn't move, which it should have moved in 5 years. It is taken more than 10 years also, and the spread is limited. So he said, you should be thankful for it. And that was like a big relief to even understand that what I was going through, but then what I was doing as a physical workout also helped me curtail and bring it down and not spread as in spread. Because if it is a 5 year spread, and if this was in my body for 10 years and never detected, it could have it could have been in a different stage altogether than stage one. So
Right.
that was like a big sign of relief which came in. And the second relief which came in was, he said, the first question which would have come in your mind, and your friends would have also told your family members, that if you knew that you had this lymph node, why didn't you get it removed? And obviously that question was asked to me. So he said, let me tell you, even if you had got it removed earlier, this would have never been detected, because your
Mm.
initial biopsy would have come clean. And
Right.
across the globe, people generally do not go for a second or a third biopsy. The first biopsy goes clean, people relax, nothing is there. And you would never, I would have gone back to my routine, doing what I was doing, and probably this would have never been detected, because then I would have not asked the doctor to look at my lymph node, because I had already got it removed. So
Right.
everything what happened, I think, happened for the right reason. That's how I took it. And that's where the positive building started. Like, I really thought that this happened for the right reason. And then the doctor came in, and he laid out the treatment protocol when he made us understood. Like, we had a series of questions. Like, my wife literally had tons of questions written down of what to do, what will happen, what precautions, why did it happen. And I was so glad that I met Dr. Manish, because he was so patient. Generally, you meet oncologists who are pretty senior, right? Pretty old. And generally, I've seen that doctors, your comfort level with doctors starts when they give you a lot of time. So my case
Right.
was like, I was super comfortable with him. And the PET scan report came in. He drafted out a treatment plan. He said, you need to straight away get in for 4 chemo sessions, and post that we will start your radiation. And your chemo starts May. So April is when the surgery happened, when the PET scan happened. And 2nd May, I was supposed to go for my first chemo session. And the first question I asked him, what is the gap of chemo? He said 14 days. Now, what had happened was, I had registered, and this is like 2 years back, pre COVID, I had registered for the TCS 10K. And I was booked to run there with all my friends. So the first question I asked my doc was, uh, tell me, what can I do? What can I do? What can't I do in my physical activities? So he said, you can't run, because this is peak Delhi summers when my treatment was ongoing. So it came as a shock, because initially he had told me that you carry on with your physical activity. So I said, you told me not to run. So he said, there is a reason I to tell you not to run, is because when you run, you will get dehydrated. And you'll get dehydrated, it will turn into loose motions, and loose motions and chemo don't go together. So he told, you can't do cycling also, because you'll get fatigued. And on long distance cycling, generally either you will be behind a group or you'll be riding solo. You might get fatigued, dizziness, anything can happen. Swimming, he said, no, unless and until you have a private swimming pool. No swimming, because chances of infection are pretty high. So I said, okay, tell me, what can I do? So he told me, you can do brisk walks. So I said, fine. Let least something is there. And I asked him, can I do strength workouts? He said, take it at ease. If you feel good, do strength workouts easy at home. I said, fine. Next is, I asked him, can I go to Bangalore? So he said, what do you want to go for? So I told him, I have an office trip, and then there is this run. Obviously, I will not run. I will go and walk there. And he told me, how many people are coming there? I said, about 10,000 people. It's the first race after pandemic. So he said, I can't allow you to go, because chances of you getting infection is pretty high. And that was a valid reason. So I thought that I would. So basically, I had already thought that I had to discuss everything with my doctor. No, you couldn't hide.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I told him. He said no. I immediately got my flights cancelled. Thankfully, it was a refundable flight, refundable hotels. I stayed back, obviously sulked, but for a greater good. And my treatment started. And I think during every chemo, I used to walk for about 30-35 kilometers, 5-6 kilometers a day, or 7 or 8 also. And I used to go to the same place where I used to train. So that's a drive of about 20-25 kilometers. I used to go walk. My friends used to run. I used to walk. And I used to come back home, because it was like a feeling that I'm still doing what I love to do, but in a different manner altogether. And
Right.
and I started.
You're still in the game,
Yes.
so to speak. Yeah.
And this was known to a very limited set of people. Not everybody knew at that point of time. Like immediate family, my wife, my mom and dad, my in-laws, and a very limited set of friends who was a core group around you. You know, and these guys used to run. I used to walk on that route, and people used to keep a check on me that I'm feeling good, not. And I used to come back home. Obviously, it was not that it was very easy. The fatigue level was there. Initially, in the first chemo, I didn't realize. It just went like, fine, done. Okay, it's easy. It can be done. But second chemo is when it started hitting me. My fatigue level started, and everything was in line because the chemo drug basically they bring down your uh, red blood cells, they bring down your platelet count, they bring down your white blood cells and TLC. Thankfully, in my case, because I had a good diet being followed in that treatment plan, my red blood cells and my platelet counts kept increasing, but my white blood cells and TLC came down. And when that comes down, it brings a lot of fatigue in your body, brings down the immunity also. So I could feel that fatigue. There were days when I used to like walk for 5 kilometers and I used to come home and just sleep for long hours. Or there were days immediately after chemo for 2 3 days I didn't feel like doing anything. And strength workouts also I used to get like I used to sweat a lot, and fatigue levels started increasing. But I think it was a phase. The body started getting used to it, and then it got back into motion. Like it was initially a phase where body couldn't receive so much of fatigue level as well, so I had to slow it down. And I think by May and June is June, I think mid June 13th was my last chemo session. And that's when another uh, uh, difficult area or difficult time came in. When I went in for this chemo, and this was at the last chemo was at a different chemo clinic. And unfortunately, I had a case of medical excavation. Now, in the cancer language, the excavation cases happen to uh, about less than 4% of cancer patients. And it's basically a spillage of the drug in your tissues. So they send the drug through IV, and it's unfortunately it spilled in my tissue, and I got to know like immediately. I had a burning sensation, and I told the nurse that it's burning, and they stopped it. They shifted to the other hand, but and the chemo happened, and I went home. Couple of days I had this burning sensation happening on my right wrist, and within I think 5 days, I still remember it was Saturday. I was on a walk, and my that area on my wrist started turning red. Within 2 hours I had boil formation there. So if I show you,
Right.
you can
Yeah.
see, right? So this portion started turning black and blue and boil formation. I called up my oncologist immediately. I said, listen, doc, this has happened. I don't know what it is. And it's paining, burning. He said, it's a case of medical excavation. You need to go and see an onco surgeon. So I went back to Patra Cancer Research. I met an onco surgeon there, Dr. Sudeep Raina. He said, we'll have to immediately operate you. So he said, then it can happen on Monday because the COVID test has to happen. And so I said, what can happen now? He said, we'll admit you into emergency and probably just give you general anesthesia and cut it open and flush the drug out. Immediate thing. I said, fine, let's go. I didn't realize that general anesthesia would be like so difficult to take. It was really painful. It was a cut wide open, uh, and the chemo drug got flushed out, and I had like a huge, this big cut on my wrist, and patched up. Came home, and then 2 weeks went into pain and daily dressing change and everything. 2 weeks down the line, I got admitted again, third time, and this time was to stitch it back. Like they couldn't do it. They had to admit me into OT and take me under a surgical process and give me like a full anesthesia, and just stitch me back. Like and that's a scar that is all will always be there. Now that got over, and my I think I had to start my radiation, and I met my radiologist, Dr. Irfan Bashir. same at Batra Cancer, and he asked me to go through another PET scan. Uh, Now, this PET scan had to actually define that how did the chemo treatment work. So when that PET scan report came in, I think everybody was pretty happy because it had just little traces there. Almost the entire spread was over, and my onco and my radiologist said that this radiation process will heal that as well, and that radiation was to happen in this area, on my right area. And that's the reason you see me in this beard, is because when the radiation got over, uh, the radiation impact was that I started losing hair from my beard, and I had to change my look, and that's how I kept it this way. And it was, I think, a 10-day of process, and I kept asking my radiologist every day, what can I do? Can I go back to running? He said, no, you need to take it easy, just keep walking. And I think during the radiation process, I was also consulting Dr. Chandan Chawla, who was my sports doctor. He already knew my condition, so I told him that, listen, you need to start drafting out a plan of how of me getting back, because, and I think uh, 10 sessions of radiation got over on July 15th, and that's where it was a big sign of relief that the treatment is over now. And I spoke to my onco. He said nothing. There's nothing needs to be done. No further test. I was on a couple of medicines, and these were like vitamins and uh, general medicines, and no drugs. So he said we'll stop this after about a month or so, because chemo and radiation also changes a lot of taste in the mouth and taste buds and everything. So he said we'll have it for that, and after a month we'll stop the medicines, and then you're fine. You can continue doing, and probably about a couple of months down the line we'll have another routine checkup. Great. Happy, came back home, relaxed, and that's the process of the treatment process.
Man, that is quite something, just I would imagine, the what I see as a really positive thing that from this experience that you went through is that your attitude has always been positive. After the initial shock, you always were thinking that, how can I continue doing what I love, right, while going through the process. And doctors had to rightfully hold you back and say, you can continue walking. And that kind of kept you going, without having to do without having to go not doing anything, right? But
Absolutely.
you were doing something like walking regularly, so that at least the minimum fitness is still there, right, while you were going through all that process.
No, absolutely.
So
I think that walk, which I used to do, and those small strength sessions that I used to do, kept me very positive and sane in the head, because it's also very important, right? Because if you are in such an extreme case of endurance workouts, and suddenly there's a stop, and you there is no way that you would stop seeing others doing it, right? Your Instagram, your Strava, your Garmin is full of updates coming up. You're part of certain groups where updates are coming up, and it gives you a feeling that I'm not able to do this. And after a while it starts getting on your head. Now I had to keep that feeling down, that let's do what I can. Let's take it one step at a time. And if I'm happy doing this, if it is still maintaining me in my balance and keeping me both mentally and physically fit, it's fine. And I had and I the only thing which I used to do, just keep an eye on my heart rate even during my walks. Like, I used to slow down when the heart rate used to go up. If the fatigue was high, I used to take rest, and just keep an eye there that nothing excessive should happen. It should not go in a negative direction. Just create that positivity around. Also, great thing was that the limited set of people who knew, like, I can tell you that the kind of support system I had, I wish every person has that. Like, it helped me so much. that never once I felt that I was alone probably in this. Like I had people checking on me like every now and then. I had friends volunteering me, were volunteering to take me to my chemo sessions. Like I had for my surgeries, I had friends like even accompanying me in my room. Like there were people coming and sitting with me in my room in the hospital. And uh, I had decided that family will not go to the hospital because my son was pretty small and my wife had to stay back. She also had a full-time job, so taking them there was a big thought that I had thought that I would not take them along. But then there were friends who said we will go along with you. Another friend of mine, he volunteered to send his driver along, so that, and I said I can drive. He said no, you will not drive, we'll send you a driver, there's another friend who will come. And so, and then people checking, then people coming and visiting, then people ensuring that I had everything and every access. And I was like, everybody was a call away. And at this point of time you need a lot of people to talk to, like positive talks. The reason we
Right.
did not disclose it further in the family or at a larger scale was because I really did not want one. People out of concern would start giving you calls and would start asking you, right? And cancer is something which is just not like any other disease. You would, for initial few weeks, it takes a lot of time for people to absorb that feeling of getting that cancer is within you and you are getting treated for it. So one, I did not want those answers to be given and family getting hassled, because if I don't answer, my wife will receive that call, my parents will receive that call. I wanted minimum interaction there. Second, I did not want to be felt sorry. Like I still have people who come and say that, hey, we're sorry, we didn't know that you had cancer. And my general reaction is, yeah, it's over and I'm not sorry about it, because I didn't call for it. I didn't
Right.
want cancer to come and visit me. It came. Now my purpose is to fight and get over it, and it's over. And also during that treatment, we had decided as family that we will not talk about or not take the word cancer at home. So it was like going to the hospital, coming back, taking my food, doing my diet, doing my general work, and being with the family. That's how the entire process started. And I think everybody around started talking positive, and I think that's where the overall mindset also changed. That also helped me a lot. So that due credit has to go, that people around you, your friends around you, your family, your doctors, that also helped a lot.
Yeah, definitely. The support system helps, plays a tremendous role during times like that.
Absolutely.
Now you came back and decided you want to run a marathon again. What was the process of getting back at it and completing the Mumbai Marathon like?
So I'll tell you, last year, had I not been diagnosed with cancer, I was supposed to run the Chicago Marathon. I was selected for the second world major. And last year, when my entire core group uh, went to do, so some went to run Berlin, some went to run London, some went to run uh, Chicago. And I couldn't go because I had to defer it due to my treatment. And that that was like, yeah, there's some miss that I couldn't do, but probably next year. So I thought, what's the first thing which will come in the next year? Because I knew that Airtel Marathon will come and I couldn't run because I knew that I would not be ready till October anyways by finishing my treatment in July. And I had also registered for Satara Marathon, a half marathon category. I had thought probably I'll go and walk, but I didn't go. I backed out because probably I think it was September, and I was not ready for even a walk of 21 kilometers because max I had walked for was 10 kilometers, so there was no point doing a strain to the body. So August, I think August or September is when the first uh, nominations for Tata Mumbai Marathon came in. First thing I did was I registered for the full marathon category, thinking that I had 5 months to train. So I had August, September, October, November, December, and about 2 weeks in January to train. So I thought, 22 weeks, good time. Let's take a call. And I'm being honest. I told this to the core circle that I will take a call by December. that whether I'll be able to run the full marathon or not. I will train for it. I will slowly progress and then take a call in December that whether I want to run a full or I get it lowered down to a half. Fine. Started. Consulted Dr. Chandan Chawla. Started my strength workout. Started my training. And the training started basically because, and this is an important thing to know, that chemo drugs, they play in your body. And it is just like a poison going inside your body to kill the poison, and the biggest impact you have is on your heart rate. So there's one particular chemo drug which has a huge heart impact on heart rate, and this my onco surgeon also told me, because he was also like uh, a fitness guy. He used to go to gyms, and he is also a cancer survivor. So he got contracted to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when he was 28 years old, and Dr. Raina then decided that he'll become a doctor and he'll become an onco
Mm.
surgeon after he got treated. So that was
Wow.
inspiration which came to me, that you look at this guy and he is pretty like good looking, like really a gym going guy, means you can see he's very fit. uh, and he was the one who asked me, like, I remember during my surgery, that what kind of heart rate trainings you do, and then he told me that ensure that you keep a watch on your heart rate whenever you train. So that's where that heart rate training also came back. And obviously, when you restart running, you have to do that heart rate based training. And I was like double focus on heart rate. And I knew this is gonna take time, because my walks, my heart rate used to move to 145, 150. Easy jogs and walks. And then that's how it started. My walks turned into jogs. My jogs turned into walks into brisk walks into jogs, and then it started happening that I used to run for like a couple of minutes, walk for a couple of minutes to stabilize the heart rate, and that started progressing. And with that, I did not put a stop to my strength workout. My strength workout started increasing, like focusing on glutes, on hamstrings, runner, all running based workouts started happening. A lot of focus on core, and that's how the training moved. October is, I think, September is when I moved uh, from a pure 100% heart rate based training to like a 70% heart rate, 30% towards runs. And October is when I got an opportunity to go to London for work. And obviously, the AQI and weather and the terrain was much better. Did a couple of runs. I think October, September is between my walks, jogs, and runs. I did a mileage of about 230 kilometers, and that was like really nice because the body felt nice. October, I did plain runs, like easy runs, and I felt that I could do it. And when I came back from London, I had a slight niggle. I had like a muscle pull in my back, and I had to take
Lower back.
lower back. And this is because of luggage carrying and moving around across tubes and metros and everything. And I was in pain when I came back. Met the physio, uh, got it over. I think it took me 2 weeks to heal. But again, back of the head was like, I've lost 2 weeks of my training. Like,
Right.
and
Yeah. Always think about training. Right.
so I was like, fine. I did not have a goal in mind. I was like, I'll finish it. I had given myself a goal that 5 hours, I think, would be easily doable, and we would be able to manage. And I had November and I had December. So November is when the training started picking up. I slowly moved into intervals and tempos and longer runs. December, I think November went into that, and December 11th is when all we friends annually we go and run the Goa River Marathon. So I was running the half marathon category, easy, and my wife was running 10, and all my other friends were also running various categories. And my son has also decided that he'll do like a 4 5k. It was for him, it was an impromptu decision, but I managed to finish the Goa River Marathon in 2 hours and 4 minutes, and this was 17 seconds less than the previous year when I was completely fit. So this,
Wow.
and Goa is not an easy terrain. Goa is a hard terrain to run because it's rolling. You have
It's completely rolling, very hot, and maybe humid and
humid.
all that. Yeah.
So that gave a lot of confidence that if I could run the half at 2:04, I'm sure I could do a pretty decent timing in the full marathon category. And that's where the goal moved from like a 5 hour to like a 4:45 to a 4:30, and then it was like, oh my god, I think 4:15 is also doable. And I generally have a philosophy that I generally don't go into events, or I don't participate with like a target in head. I would give myself a bracket that if I fall into this, it's a happy space for me, and the happy space had
Right.
now shifted to like a 4:50. And Arijit, who's a very dear friend, and he and I ran Berlin uh, almost like 30 kilometers together. And he had also paced me in my last half of the first marathon also. Had decided he was not supposed, he had not registered for the Tata Mumbai Marathon. And I had asked him casually that, would you pace me? And he finally messaged me one day that, registered, and I am your official pacer. And
Awesome.
and now my training had peaked, so I had gone into like rigorous fast tempos, fast intervals, and my long runs also had like 60-70% marathon pace runs. And seeing that these guys had started like, Ari, is gonna be opposite, probably Rohit is gonna pace you. And I was like, not talk about it, let's just take it easy, let's go what happens. And slowly I think everything started falling into place. The training paid off. I think the strength sessions paid off. The nutrition what I was undertaking paid off. And uh, obviously means the right amount of people you're training with, being part of Adidas runners community. I'm also a crew for their Delhi chapter, so I also part of the 5 member, 6 member team where we lead the Delhi chapter. Now, running there, and obviously by this time, a lot of people also knew that what I've gone through and what I've recovered, and it was like everybody came with such positiveness around you that they started cheering you, and they started talking so good that, and it's unbelievable also for a lot of people, because it's cancer is not easy. Like a person who goes through that, and I have had a couple of instances in the extended family. And I think between October and before the race day, I had two close family members whom I lost to cancer. I lost a cousin sister while I was in London. My age, 40, cancer relapse, just passed away one day. And her own uncle, who's my uncle as well, passed away just one day before race day. And he got diagnosed within like couple of months, and we couldn't save him because it was very advanced in the body now. And a couple of friends who've lost family members. So cancer is something which generally comes with a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief around, but thankfully, again, when the larger community also knew, everybody came around, rallied, that it's so good to see you doing what you love doing and being a part of the community. And I and there were people who came to me who said, we never knew that you were going through chemo and going through radiation and still doing your walks and meeting around, and even in a smaller section of people, but you were always cheerful around. And I used to say that that's the only choice I had. I never gave myself any other choice. And I think that's where I landed in Bombay. uh, and again, means I think at times God also tries and takes a lot of test of my resilience to think that how mentally fit I am, stable I am. When I reached Bombay, I reached with a acute pain on my left shoulder. So my neck had frozen. This is once I had this instance post my chemo treatment, but I thought that it's generally sleep posture change. So my neck had frozen 2 days before I had to travel to Bombay, which moved to my shoulder, and then the pain moved to my left bicep area, and I had an acute pain. So I got in touch with my physio Paridhi, and she told me that it's probably a nerve pain. Take some anti-inflammatory, it should get better. I landed Bombay. Next 2 days, Venki, were like in severe pain. And I couldn't believe that this could have happened to me when there was no niggle, no injury in the entire training period. And this is an injury which didn't, like, I was never ready for. Like, I never thought that this had happened to me. And it was something which nobody could diagnose at that point of time. Now the only thing was have an anti-inflammatory, have painkillers, subside this, and see that it you are able to run or not. And
And also the shoulder will play an important
yeah, because I
part
think
in the run, right? Yeah, you have to move your arms, right? Yeah.
a day prior, me and Ari sat down to make a strategy, and we were talking about, and I think 415 was easy on chart, 410 was on chart, even a sub 4 was on chart. Like our strategy was sub 4, but we thought that we'll take a call basically as on the pain and as the feel goes. So it was more about just finishing it strong, you know. But
Right.
everything was on card and the pain didn't come down. So when we started the run, I think couple of kilometers, I could feel that pain. Uh, but uh, Bombay being Bombay, it's such an euphoria, such an feeling to run within that kind of crowd. I think that pain just went off when I entered uh, the Bandra ceiling, and I saw a a sea of runners around. You had the marathon category on one side, the half marathon 10K, the half marathon on the other side, and me and Ari, we started running. The first half went fine. Whenever I had pain, like I had a buff in my neck, I used to make a temporary sling, and I used to just hold my hand for like a couple of hundred of meters or probably a kilometer, and then start getting back into running. And I think in the second half, when your body starts getting tired, you can. And Bombay is a tough terrain as well. It's not easy. It's not a flat course. The weather is not. And being in Delhi and being trained in the peak winters, you're not used to the Bombay weather as well. And I think 30-kilometer mark, me and Ari, we had a chat, and Ari told me that sub 4 is not in cards, brother. It's not going to happen. We have to run at this. And he's a guy with stats in his head. So he said, we're going to run it. If we have to do sub 4, we'll run at this pace. And I said, listen, let's leave it. I think it's more important that we save our energy because Pedder Road climb had to come. And I said, let's save our energy. Let's see whatever best can happen. Let's save it for the rest. And I think that's where we said, let's we've enjoyed 30 kilometers. Let's enjoy more because I did everything within the run. I clicked pictures, I made videos, and running at a pace. And I think Pedder Road happened. Bombay crowd, as amazing as it is, as always, like amazing support. Seeing like the administration on road, police on road, people cheering you, kids cheering you, giving you high fives, giving you food to eat. I think as soon as I reached the finish line, just about a kilometer and a half before, when the legs were actually getting more tired, that's where the we had a couple of community members from Adidas runners cheering us, and I think the finish line was about a kilometer, and Jay. And Anurag, another friend of mine, they paced me like for the last full stretch, and I think the best feeling that I had was when I crossed that finish line. I think unbelievable it was when I look back. I still get goosebumps. I still get very emotional thinking about it. That when I crossed that finish line and I look back, what the journey has been in the past couple of months. Like I literally, I broke down once I crossed the finish line. First 5, 6, 7 minutes took me to just gather that feeling and absorb it. First call I made was to my wife. I told her, finished. This is the time and I'm done. I'm happy. And I kept the phone down. And the first person I think I met was Bobby. And I knew Bobby from obviously because of the running fraternity and then being in Bangalore and doing a couple of runs with him. And I think when
Thomas Bobby Phillip,
yes,
Barefoot Bobby.
barefoot Bobby. And I told Bobby, and he met me also when I did my first marathon, and so he asked me, and I told him about what's the journey has been. He was like, he literally gave me a big hug, and he was like, you've done amazing. Like I can't tell you how happy I am for you. And then Ari had come. He was a little behind when I was finishing because he had told me that now you can continue. And he came in, and I think I had tears rolling up while I was talking to Bobby. I was already crying, and I met Ari. Like the biggest hug I got, and I think the best thing about being with the right set of people is because they share everything with you. Right, your happiness is their happiness, your sorrow is their sorrow. And while I was crying, I could see my friends like tears and crying, and it's a feeling that I think I will carry it to my grave. Like, it's
Amazing, man. Amazing. What a journey. It is not an easy thing to, go through the whole experience. However positive you were through the experience, it was quite a bit, right? And all that boiled, bottled up, and it kind of culminated into that feeling of relief once you crossed that finish line. And that's where, that all that emotion kind of came out, and rightly so. Amazing, amazing job, and what an experience it was. And thank you, man. Thank you for going through that experience in such a positive way, and sharing that experience with all the listeners. And I'm sure it is going to inspire many people who are going through various difficulties. It need not be just cancer, although cancer is one of the biggest things that one can go through. There are many other things, many other difficulties people go through, and your experience is acts as a positive stimulus for them to say chin up and go through those difficulties, and face them and come through stronger on the other side.
I think yes. I think somebody told me that life is what we make it. You know, and I think by doing this, if I could, all I wanted was to give hope to people, and give a hope that life doesn't ends for cancer survivors. Actually, your life begins. You can rebuild it. You can get back on your feet. You can do what you love to do. Don't leave your passion behind. There is nothing which is impossible. Everything is possible. You just need a strong will. And if I am able to even give a hope to 10% of the people, I think my job is done. There are many like me. I'm not sure. A lot of stories don't come out. I'm fortunate that I'm over here. I can talk about my experience. It's been a fruitful journey, and I'm happy. And happy I could do it. And yes, like you said, chin up. Just face it, on the face of it. It is there. You can't. That's destiny. You can't change it. But what is there in your hands is how well you can fight it out, how well you can leave it behind, look forward. Like everybody says, like, look forward. This is the time when you look forward, and this is the time when you build that hope around you, that yes, I did it, everyone else can. And I think that's very, very important for me, to build that hope for people, that uh, there's a huge world out there for cancer survivors, and life doesn't end here. There's 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 full life ahead of you. You have family, you have friends. You got to do it for them. If you can't do it for you, first you need to do it for yourself, but then you also need to do it for them. Do it well. And I think life gave me another opportunity. It's like a second inning for me. So
Yeah, that is very, very true. And I wish you all the very best for in your second innings. Many more marathons, many more cycle rides, and I wish to see you on a bike ride sometime in Bangalore, or
i'll
when I
tell
am
you
in Delhi.
I'll tell you something, that when I came to Bangalore, I was supposed to ride the tour of Nilgiris. I was registered for it. I was registered to it before I had joined CureFit, but I took a call to not do it, was because I had just joined them and taking leave was not possible. So I dropped out, and that is there. That's always on the card. So that's there. And you and I got in touch. I think you saw those messages, right? I spoke about a couple of friends about cycling routes and everything. I am part of the Bangalore cycling group also, which is there. I've not left that group. I said whenever I go back, probably I'll touch base and I'll ride. Yeah, this year is a little special. I've run Bombay. If I get my US visa, which I'm just crossing my fingers, I might run the Boston. I am registered for Chicago, and Valencia Marathon is also on cards. So there are three more marathons probably this year. So I think it's gonna be a landmark year. Touch wood.
Yeah, yeah. All the very best for all these marathons, and probably see you on TFN and ride together.
Absolutely, it's a dream.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for taking the time and sharing your journey with the Working Athlete podcast.
Thank you, Anki. Thank you for your time, and God bless you guys. Thank you.
That was my conversation with Rohit. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.